The Louisville men's basketball team continues a crucial month of January in terms of bolstering their tournament resume to get into the big dance in a couple months. We'll talk about all that and more on this episode of the Locked On Louisville podcast. Stay tuned.
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back into another episode of the Locked On Louisville podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Pence. Today's episode is brought to you by Netsuite. Netsuite is the #1 cloud financial system to power your growth. Head to netsuite.com/LockedOnNCAA for special end-of-year financing on the #1 financial system for growing businesses. Also want to take this time, as always, to say thank you for making us your first listen of the day. And just a reminder, the Locked On Louisville podcast, free on all streaming services, including YouTube now. 5 days a week, your team every day. It is a new year, but still the same old weekly guest. We hadn't had him on for the past couple weeks.
Same old.
Same young.
O-L-E. Same old. Same old. No. You ain't
same old.
Reveal no, you ain't got to date me, bruh.
This guy. But for those who aren't aware, it's Cardinal Sports Zone co-founder Jeremy Wahman. Before you interjected, Jeremy, I was going to ask how you're doing, but I guess I'll ask you now.
I just like the fact that my name's down here now. I'm doing all right, man. You know, battling some personal things, but you know, I can't complain about my personal health and stuff like that. New year, new Jeremy, as they say. That is what they say, right?
Yeah, until, like Sam said, about January 10th comes along, and then it's the new year, same me, or old me, I should say.
But you left a bunch of garbage over here at my house the other day.
Me? I apologize.
I know, because your name's on all of it from all the fantastic
my fault.
And I gave to everybody.
But got a good amount of stuff to talk about on the show. We've discussed the win over Georgia Tech earlier this week, previewed Pittsburgh in the episode yesterday. I want to take a step back, look at this crucial month of January for the Louisville men's basketball team, and kind of predict where the wins and where the losses will come from. We'll transition into the controversial new AP ranking for the women's college basketball landscape. South Carolina, #1, did not drop after a loss to unranked Missouri, which has got a lot of Louisville fans up in arms, so to speak. We'll talk about that and whether we agree with the committee's decision. And then finally, there's about 3 to 4 good mailbag questions that have been kind of sitting on the back burner for the past week. But for those who are not aware of who we are with Cardinal Sports Zone. You can see our Twitter handles in the respective placements and the graphics at the bottom part of your screen. You can follow the podcast Twitter page at @LO_Louisville. So let's get right on into it. The Cardinals looking to extend their undefeated ACC winning streak this evening when they take on the Pittsburgh Panthers, who aren't necessarily as good. Probably the worst ACC team that they'll have played to date. The 5-8 Panthers have struggled thus far, but still the point remains it is a crucial month of January because Jeff Goodman said it. There are not many ACC teams that are going to be able to put together a resume that is going to be tournament worthy. And like I've mentioned multiple times, it's not so much as accumulating quality wins, but avoiding bad losses. Jeremy, I guess the first question is, on this whole past week, I put, crucial emphasis on the month of January because there are some decent teams that we play at the end of this month, but there's also good opportunities in the middle half to secure some wins. Am I putting too much emphasis on the month of January?
No, I don't think so. Looks like February's got just as many quality. I mean, you got North Carolina and Duke at home to end back to back to end January. You got North Carolina and at Wake to end the month of February. So no. I think you're right. I think we're going to see. I truly expect us to finally. When I say finally, it's been a while, but I feel like we're better than Virginia. I think we're going to take care of business there. But we've got a lot of teams coming up that we should be able to beat. So yes, it's very. We've only got maybe one quality win with Wake Forest, who's just completely balling out since we beat them. So no, I don't think you're wrong at all to put the emphasis into that.
And the reason why, I mean, I think the month of February collectively is going to be harder than the month of January, just because I feel like, there's some, Pittsburgh is a little rough right now. NC State is slumping at the wrong time, etc. In terms of whole body work, I think February is going to be a little tougher, but, January offers the ability not only to rack up some wins and improve, possible top 4 seeding when it comes down to things, but also, at the end of the month, you have some, possible resume building wins. So let's break down the January slate. There are 9 games remaining. We'll look at the first 2 this week. Cards take on Pittsburgh tonight, and they will take on a Florida State team on Saturday that just got absolutely bombarded. I don't even know another verb that
destroyed.
Destroyed, for lack of better terms, to Wake Forest. Is this a week where you see the Cards split, or do you think they go 2-0? I know that Florida State over the past 3 to 4 years has kind of been the Louisville's kryptonite.
Yeah, I mean, I see a split until Florida State proves me otherwise, that they're not as good. It's just kind of like with Clemson in football, until you beat them, just assume it's never going to happen. With Florida State, like you said, in recent history, they have been our Achilles heel, so to speak. So, yeah, I fully expect us to split this week.
And then the next 4 before the stretch with Virginia, Duke, and Carolina, there's 4 games, and that they're against NC State, Pittsburgh, Boston College, Notre Dame. Obviously, if the Cards handle business tonight, the next 2 opponents after this week will be opponents that the Cards have already seen and have already defeated. The 2 after that are going to be a little bit more interesting. I know Boston College, probably one of the bottom dwellers of the conference. Notre Dame, however, did beat the team down the road. They're showing that they're not as bad as I thought they were going to be before the season. When you look at that 4-game stretch, is there a certain amount of wins that do the Cards need to go 3-1 in that stretch, or what's the most realistic outcome in that little 4-game slew?
Now, I think they need to at least go 3-1. But if you look at the games, 3 of those 4 games are at home, and then the 4th game might as well be a home game, because I don't think we've ever lost at Pittsburgh. So would I be shocked for us to go 4-0? No. Would I be shocked for us to go 2-2? Also, no.
I think that's going to be the stint where ultimately that might be one of the more important stints of the season of the ACC slate, because you have to get the wins where you can get them. And like I said, unfortunately, the non-conference schedule, there were 3 losses that Louisville probably shouldn't have had, and they are probably classified as bad losses. Maybe not the DePaul loss. Western Kentucky, if they're able to win their conference, that loss won't necessarily be as bad, but Furman looks like a bad loss right now. You have to avoid bad losses. You lose to any of these 4 teams, there's a good chance outside of maybe Notre Dame, maybe NC State, that they're considered bad losses. But I agree with you. 3-1 has to be what the Cards go with. I could see them going 2-2, but if they put it together, 4-0 could be on the table. The next 3 is where I've had trouble kind of seeing where the Cards go. At Virginia, where the Cards, I'm not sure, have won at since they've joined the ACC. And then you have obviously Duke at home, and then North Carolina at home. I mean, I hate to think that 1-2, 0-3 in that stretch, but I don't necessarily think that that's too far off from the reality of what we're facing here.
No, I agree with you. I think that we're looking, and I'm looking this up because I believe we have beaten them once.
At Virginia, we might have. Virginia. I'm trying to think. I know we beat them in 2020 at home when Walden Tensei went for like a career high. We beat them 2015 at home, which I think was our first ACC win against them.
I'm looking.
I'm sure that we had beat them on the road. We had a chance
to beat them. I feel like we beat them like 52-50.
We may have.
For some reason, I'm looking. Not too many more to go. You could fill this with filler if you want to. Loss in Charlottesville, loss in Charlottesville, loss in Louisville, loss in Charlottesville, loss in Louisville, win in Louisville, loss in Charlottesville.
And then really
No,
the reason I say that is just because like Florida State, Virginia is a team even when they're down talent wise, so to speak. If you have an offense that struggles scoring the basketball at times, like we've seen from this Louisville team, what does Virginia do? They play very very good team defense, and that's where I want to predict this to be a Louisville win. But until history shows proves me wrong, I don't necessarily know that I can predict a win here.
we have not beaten them in Charlottesville since they joined the ACC, and as a matter of fact, we have only beaten them two times. Oh, well, yeah, the one time was Mango's shot right at the buzzer.
Yeah, that was 25th.
Last time we beat them in Charlottesville, because we played them from in the 80s, 80 to 90 pretty regularly, but it was 1990. We defeated them in February of 1990 in Charlottesville, beat them by a good amount. So, yeah, we've only beat them the two times since joining the ACC. I feel like this is the year we get them. So I'm going to predict 1-2 with a small shot at us beating North Carolina. We're not going to beat Duke.
I agree. Yeah, Duke's one of those teams that I think we're just outmatched top to bottom. North Carolina wise, it depends on what Tar Heel team if you have the team that came out against the Cats down the road and that lost by 30, who knows? But if you take the team that beat Michigan by 35, I mean, who knows? It really just kind of
Michigan today, last night. I said Rutgers beat Michigan.
Did they?
Night, so
okay, so Michigan's kind of dwindling down. So I guess that's kind of a moot point. But regardless, North Carolina is still a formidable opponent. So I agree. January is going to be a crucial month and a good opportunity tonight to rack up yet another ACC win. I want to transition now into the women's basketball side of things. The Cards defeated number 16 Georgia Tech on the road on Sunday. Still number 3 in the polls, even with number 1 losing to an unranked team. We'll talk about that here in just a second after we talk about our friends at Built Bar. It's the new year, so that means New Year's resolutions. If yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. It's the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar and makes it easier to stick to that resolution because it tastes good. You'll want to eat it, unlike other protein bars that can be chalky, waxy, or taste like a chemical spill. You want to eat healthy, but it just sometimes gets boring by like week 3. You might be thinking, this is just not worth it. Where's the chocolate? Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. They have a ton of healthy benefits to it on top of being just purely delicious. So do yourself a favor, go to built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15 and you'll get 15% off your order. Once again, that is using the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Hey Cardinals fans, once again, this is your host Dalton Pence with an incredible app everyone who buys gas needs to know about, GetUpside. My listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free GetUpside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and use the promo code SCORE and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back by using GetUpside by downloading the app. Some people who drive a lot are making as much as $200 to $300 a month in cash back, and there's no catch. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, e-gift card for Amazon, and other brands. Just download the free GetUpside app and use the promo code SCORE to get up to 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. So the number 1 ranked South Carolina Gamecocks women's basketball team lost in overtime to an unranked Missouri team over the weekend and did not drop 1 spot in the AP poll, which in my 23 years on earth and probably 18, 19 years of following sports, I haven't seen a team lose as a number 1 team to an unranked team and not go down. Jeremy, I see you shaking your head. A lot of Louisville fans are, a little bit upset about this because, Louisville beating a ranked team and although South Carolina does have a good resume, Louisville's isn't too shabby either.
No, I shook my head because you said in all my 23 years, like that's a long time or something. But no,
for me it is. It's all about perspective. Think about it. I can't attest to how many years you've spent on this earth. I can only attest to how many years that I've spent on this earth.
Hate them. No, I've never seen a number 1 team in any sport lose and keep they're as number one and keep their spot. I'm trying to think if maybe Alabama has in the past in football. I don't think so. So I was absolutely shocked when they jumped all the way up to first after beating Georgia in the SEC championship game after they had been ranked behind all these other teams the whole season. But no, I think I'm more so shocked that we didn't jump up to number two because and Stanford has been, that's who was number two, right? Stanford.
Right. Yep.
They have been they are as we talked about on the Cardinal Sports Zone podcast on Sunday. Stanford was, when I was 23 years of age, they were the UConn that, like, they held the same standard of excellence that UConn holds now. It has for about the last 20 years. It was Stanford and Tennessee battling back and forth when I was a kid. UConn jumped in sometime right after Dalton was born, and that's that. So I'm more shocked that we didn't move up one over a multi-loss Stanford than I am that we didn't jump up to number one, because you can always find in any sport a reason to make excuse to keep the number one team in number one.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like this Louisville team has not beaten, top opponents. Now, granted, not like it truly matters. South Carolina, it stays at number one, but Louisville got the most, most votes outside to be number one. Stanford received 0. Granted, all three of their losses came to ranked teams, one of those being South Carolina. You look at what Louisville's done; they have one loss on the year, and that comes to a team that is literally number 4 in the country right now, in Arizona, and they've won 12 in a row, and it's been over teams like UK, Michigan, Georgia Tech, UConn, etc. So I mean,
National semifinalists last year, right? Or were they runner up?
Who's that?
Arizona, the team.
Yeah, Arizona was national runner up.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I get, there are some biases in every sport. Like you said, Alabama is one of those teams. Duke is one of those teams in men's basketball.
Yeah.
Women's basketball, it's kind of been a little bit of a mixed bag, because usually you get that with UConn. But right now, it's like we're seeing that with South Carolina, because it seems like South Carolina has almost like replaced UConn as the nation's team, so to speak, in terms of getting all the coverage. So I don't know. I don't put all that much emphasis into what South Carolina has done right now, considering that when you lose a game, you drop down. That applies to everyone. And, if Louisville was number one, for example, when Louisville lost, they were number one last year, I believe, when we had just gotten number one, and lost to NC State pretty much immediately after. We dropped down 3 to 4 spots, and NC State was number 2 in the country. South Carolina just lost to an unranked Missouri team. Granted, they're 12-2, but still, I mean, it's unranked. So yeah, I think that the Cardinal outrage is justified.
Yeah, for sure.
Really, like you said, I think they should have jumped up to number 1. So, but the last segment of the week, there's some good mailbag questions that I'd like to ask you. Some that have been asked all week long. So those that have asked, definitely appreciate you all for for tuning in and for just overall participating. I want to take this time now, before we get into the mailbag, to talk about our friends at Netsuite. So I want you to imagine a scenario. This is it. The putt to win the tournament. If you sink it, the championship is yours, but on your backswing, your hat falls over your eyes. Is this how you're running your business? Poor visibility because you're still relying on spreadsheets and outdated finance software? To see the full picture, you need to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle. It's the #1 cloud financial system to power your growth. With NetSuite, you can automate your processes and close your books in no time while staying well ahead of the competition. Over 28,000 businesses already use NetSuite. For the new year, NetSuite has a new financing program for those ready to upgrade at netsuite.com/locked. Head to netsuite.com/locked for the special one-of-a-kind financing offer on the #1 financial system for growing businesses. Once again, that is netsuite.com/locked. All right, final segment with Cardinal Sports Zone co-founder Jeremy Wahman on his weekly Wahman Wednesday edition of the show. A couple mailbag questions. The first one, and this is the most interesting one because I've heard many people say many different answers, If you could pick the starting point guard for the Louisville men's basketball team, do you go with Jared West, L. Ellis, or Mason Faulkner?
No, I'm definitely sticking with Jared West, and I know it's probably shocking to you, but the dude's a
Not
monster.
really. I mean,
I kind of am very hard on Jared West normally on our show, on our other show. So, not that this is our show also. I mean, maybe I should brand into Lockdown. I don't know. Anyway, beside the point. But no, I've been hard on Jared West, and even though he doesn't make a lot of great decisions when he takes shots, he can still pass the ball, get wide open guys. His defense is just tenacious. Mason probably plays the second best defense out of all those, but out of the three, I would say Ellis is the most explosive, the most exciting to watch. But no, I'm sticking with Jared West.
I like that. Jared West, the only reason I would go with Mason Faulkner because I think that he raises your offensive ceiling just a little bit. There's no doubt that West is the best on-ball defender probably on the team. But it's probably a 1A, 1B situation. L. Ellis is the most explosive on the team, probably one of the most explosive, guys on the court whenever he's playing. But there's just so many, road bumps that he's running into, growing pains, and just getting acclimated with the ACC. Moving on to the second question, directly kind of stemming off of that one. If there is one guy that turns it on and kind of, jumps into a, I guess this says turns the corner for the men's basketball team, which player would you predict that would be? Maverick Rowan?
That's a yes, that's a great question because I feel like for the most part, everybody is individually playing except for Jae'Lyn and Sam. I'll go with Sam. I think Sam will turn the corner. But you can have individually, everybody can be playing well individually, but if they're not playing well as a team, it doesn't matter. And there's still a lot of chemistry issues with this team. I've said all along, if this team can gel and mesh by tournament time, there's nobody that can come within 20 points of them. That being said, we're sitting here in January. There's only about 16 games left, and you see little glimpses like against Wake Forest and Georgia Tech. You've seen glimpses there too, but you got to have consistency, or that those flashes mean nothing. So I haven't seen anything that tells me that Jae'Lyn's going to turn the corner. I really think I think there's outside thing. There's a lot of issues with three people specifically on campus at Louisville. You saw Sam Williamson struggle after he started getting his NIL deals. You saw Jae'Lyn Withers start to struggle after he got his NIL deals. And then at the beginning of the season, Malik Cunningham struggled a little bit after he started getting. He was able to kind of, as the season go by, it looked like he put those out of his focus and he played better throughout the rest of the season. But I think the NIL deals are destroying college basketball, college athletics, and I just really think that these kids that are being affected, the Jae'Lyns and the Sams, are the guys who may have just had natural talent. And they're not the ones that have to work hard for their talent. And when you got the NIL stuff in the back of your mind, you get a little lackadaisical, a little what's the word I'm looking for? Complacent. And I think that's what's happening. So to make that very, very long answer short, I'm going to go with Sam Williams.
Going to go with Sam. You mentioned Malik Cunningham. There are two that relate to football. This is an interesting one because I can't say that I've really put too much thought into this, and that is, do you think Malik Cunningham has somewhat hit a ceiling, considering that he almost did what a lot of, what only 5 quarterbacks have done in, NCAA college football history? Have we seen Malik Cunningham hit his ceiling here at Louisville?
No, and I think that's scary because, well, first off, I hate the fact that a lot of his records are going to be asterisked because he had 13 more games or 14 more games to play than anybody else did. Probably more than that, because I'm pretty sure
He'll have played more than
when
that than
Redmond,
Lamar for sure.
yeah, for sure. But like my team, my Louisville teams, with Chris Redmond, I'm pretty sure we played 10, 11 games each year. So I mean, and that just makes Redmond's records all the more impressive that they were done in a way less amount of games. But I think that we get some we got already starting to get some fresh people in. The people who are staying look like they're hungry. I feel like Malik. How many yards did he throw for this year?
I think like 50 away from 2,000, I believe, or something like that, or 3,000 maybe. One of those two.
Yeah, I think it was. I'll
Might have
look
been 2,000 or 3,000.
No,
I don't know, man.
I'm pretty sure it was. I think you were right the first time. With the Malik Cunningham on the season, threw for 2,941 yards, 19 touchdowns.
Just outside of 3,000.
I think he can throw for 4,000 and have 30 passing touchdowns next year. I think he's that dangerous. I think he's that talented, and hopefully we don't lose him to Oklahoma again this week.
I agree with you. I don't think he's touched the ceiling because you can see that there's still a significant amount of room for improvement in being a pocket passer. So, maybe as like a dual threat, maybe because he's been very, very, he had 20 rushing touchdowns. It'll be hard to, touch that. But if he's improving as a pocket passer, he might not get that, but that doesn't mean, he's falling by the wayside. The last question is, I don't know of, just full transparency, I don't know if this number is true, but this person has said, I have heard that with the transfer of Demetrius Cannon that we have about 3 to 4 spots to work with for the additions, either high school or transfer next season. Which positions would you like to see, attended to with those remaining spots? Like I said, I can't confirm that number. I just read the question, and I haven't been able to fact check that. But it kind of, I guess.
Fair. You could have asked me, and I could have had it confirmed. But
it evens out. You see, it looks to be about the part.
I would say that we need a couple more wide receivers, and with Q Cole declaring for the draft, another safety or two, a couple people to solidify that, because Ketrell Clark, after making it look like he was out of here, removing all mention of Louisville from all of his social media, announced he was coming back. So I think we need to get somebody to replace Cole. Is Duncan back another year, or is he gone as well?
There's been rumblings that he could possibly go pro. So,
okay. So then, a couple of safeties, a couple of wide receivers. I think we've already started making moves to get the other positions in need filled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with Cannon leaving. I think for next year it seems we have like 8 scholarship wide receivers. Granted, I think that those 8 are an upgrade over what we would have had last year. I would like to add another wide receiver. Would like to get an impact defensive lineman and an interior nose tackle. Get a guy that can come in that has been defined throughout his college career. Put him on the defensive line. I still would like to get another cornerback with no Greedy Vance. The guys that are backing up Ketrell Clark and Chandler Jones, they're still very young. They're unproven, and even with them, I think that there's only like 4 scholarship cornerbacks outside of Ketrell Clark and Chandler Jones. We did not bring any in this Flyville 22 class. So a cornerback, a safety, a defensive lineman, and a wide receiver is kind of where my head's at. So
yeah, I agree.
So, but that's all I've got for the mailbag. Before we get out of here, a couple quick shout-outs as we always do. The Cardinal Sports Zone podcast. The most recent episode dropped last Sunday. How do you pronounce it? CSZ-rismus?
It's Christmas, baby. It's Christmas.
There you go. Great episode there. You can get that on CardinalSportsZone.com. Also, the Locked On Bets podcast with hosting by your boy Q and handicapping expert Lee Sterling. Get that on the Odyssey app or wherever you like to get your podcast. Jeremy is on set today, or the virtual set, I should say. As always, definitely keep Jeremy's dad in your thoughts. We've been talking about the people that have been needing our thoughts, and Jeremy's dad being one of those. So definitely keep him in your thoughts. That family definitely appreciates it. Jeremy, I'll give the floor to you. Any last thoughts that you have for Card Nation? Anything you'd like to say?
No, I mean, you pretty much covered it all. Like if you're somebody who prays, or even if you don't pray and you just send out well wishes or whatever, it's not looking really good for them right now. So if you'll send those good vibes our way, we appreciate it. As far as the show's concerned, I bought everybody brand new equipment. It sounded like $1 million last week. We didn't hook Higgy stuff up for him because he was too lazy to come to the show. But as far as but this week, I don't even know if we've discussed when we're going to do the next show. I don't know that we'll be able to record one this weekend. We got some family obligations, possibly, depending on Dad's health. So just stay tuned. Check out the Twitter handle. We'll let you know when the next episode's coming out. And thanks for all the support.
Yes, sir. As always, great to have you on, Jeremy. Thanks once again for being patient with the recording. And I know it's been a little hectic trying to work around your schedule and my schedule, which has been limited, unfortunately. But that is going to wrap up this Wahman Wednesday edition of the show. Everyone have a great day. Let's go Cards tonight, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.